Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the North Oakland Transportation Authority, or NOTA, as we prefer to refer to. Today is Thursday, January 16th, 2025, and we're meeting at Oxford Township. With that said, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. McDonald?
Here.
Flood?
Here.
Brakefield?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Sanrowski is excused.
Somebody walking in, like.
Okay. Moore?
Here.
Burnett? See, Hilgendorf? Don't see. Wapple?
Here.
Swack? Here's Carl.
That would be
Good.
Carl.
So Jennifer Swack?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
she's not here.
Okay. Granger? And Maduro. Please, Joe. It's just, okay.
Okay, I think
You
we
want
have
the
a
end or
quorum.
should I have the end? Okay, thanks. You want that one?
So with that, we'll note Kyle's here as well.
Yes.
I'm here.
All right. Who's the veteran here? Mr. Brakefield. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Mike, I keep wanting to say, keep standing for the invocation.
Yeah, it occurs to me too.
Do that too.
Okay, the board has before it an agenda. What's the pleasure of the board? Are there any changes, edits? If none,
I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Support.
we have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda as presented. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. The board has the minutes from our December meeting, our December regular meeting. Are there any questions, changes, corrections? If none, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make that motion that we approve the revised minutes that were just issued yesterday. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any question on the motion?
Support.
Hearing none, we'll have a roll call. I'm sorry.
McDonald?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Brakefield?
Yes?
Curtis?
Yes.
Sanrowski?
Here.
Moore?
Yes.
Wapple?
Yes.
Granger? Yes.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Time for the director's report.
So I kind of just did a little different format this month, just to kind of do an overview of looking back in 2024. So it's been quite a year. We've made a lot of progress, a lot of growth, just to show some of the recap a little bit of all that we did this past year. So we had an impressive 97,042 rides, which was a 100% increase over 23. And about 75% of those were for the residents of Orion, Oxford, and Addison. So, which is impressive. We grew our staff from 57 employees to 123.
Wow.
We started the year trying out the Adept IQ, which Smart was going to provide for us. That failed. Now we moved to the Q Ride, which we've just went live January 4th, and it's been good, but it's not without some issues, and so we're still working without tablets. So that's but we are getting closer. So we actually we've had some meetings with Smart and with and they are issuing, they have a contractor that's going to come and install our tablets. There's 63 vehicles that we are going to have mounts and tablets installed. They're going to do it overnight. They're going to have, supposedly, I think they can do like 38 vehicles at night. So we'll see how that goes. We're hopefully going to have that done next week. We're also going to have 6 vehicles from Independence. We finally have the agreement with Independence, and so their vehicles that they had are going to be moved over to us. Mike's going to have an inspection of those vehicles done next week. so that then they can have the tablets installed. So that's kind of the process with our Q-Ride. And then I'm hoping that some of the bugs and things that we're working through will get a little cleaner. So that's where we're at with that. But it definitely is an improvement over what we had, without a doubt. It's just a matter of learning it, a lot of learning curve time, and also just working through the kinks on
It
what we
hasn't
used to
made
do.
things worse.
No,
Okay, yeah,
not
that's-
worse. It's just,
that's
you know,
good.
it's just, it's never easy to make a transition like that, so. We also put a time tracking in this last year with our iPad, that was new. We upgraded our call center. We upgraded our dispatch office, moved it over to the lunchroom. We did the successful pilot with Independence in Springfield, which led to a 10-year agreement. We also expanded service to general population in June. We opened up a satellite office in Independence Township where we have 12 vehicles now. We installed an electronic gate over there, and next year we'll be doing part of their parking lot as part of our agreement that we have with them. And we got 20 new vehicles acquired through Oakland County and 8 replacement vehicles through the 5310 grants. And we started our facility renovation plans with our architect, which will be coming in 25. We've increased our training, our enhanced training for safety and protocols. We've added some new administrative roles, including a new driver trainer, driver support specialist, operations support coordinator, marketing coordinator, and dispatch liaison. I also hired a CPA. He started a few weeks ago. We're happy to have him on board. And he's going to start helping me with the audit and grant reporting and monthly reporting. So I'm already feeling a weight off my shoulders, which is great. And we started getting LBO state funding last year, which is the first year, which is about 30% of our operational costs, which is a great thing. And that's something that we will be anticipating to receive every year, which is great. And you can see that we've really increased our Oakland County millage, almost doubling it, or not doubling it for, well, yeah, for 20, yeah, from 23 to
23 to
24.
24.
Yeah. And, yeah, and then Nigel and his volunteers delivered 147 Thanksgiving meals this year to our riders. So looking back, I think that was quite a year, quite a lot of accomplishments. I'm really proud of our team. It was a lot on all of us, and we definitely are feeling a little beat up from the year, but I'm just really thankful for the amazing team that we have, and thankful and looking forward to next year. I think it's going to be a great year. So the other issues that we've got currently, as far as our initiatives, we're working on our employee handbook right now with the paid sick time that's required. That started, we are implementing that effective in January 1. That we removed all PTO for part-time employees, but in lieu of that, we're giving them 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. So that's
That's
going to
the
be,
ESTA.
right, that's the ESTA.
That's
in
that's
February.
mandated, it's mandated, yeah.
So we're just changing our policies right now with that, and we're also mandating that all of our drivers have to report traffic violations or any health issues that may affect their driving, that it's mandated that they report or they could lose their job. That's part of it. And I'm applying right now for the grant applications for the 5310. I just finished my non-urban grants, which gets approved by our local advisory council next week. It's about $1.8 million of grants that I'm applying for that. And then the urban grants are due in the beginning of February. So we're working on those as well. And that's about it. Thank you.
Very good. I think, I can't speak for the board, but I think generally you guys have accomplished a great deal, a great deal more than I think any of us foresaw in 2022. You know, it's just been one of, as you said, it was an avalanche of activity. And I'm especially happy with the way you have taken on the evaluation policy and brought that along, and we'll be talking about that shortly. But that was big for NODA as a whole. So congrats to all of the NODA people for their cooperation and participation. Okay, what's the pleasure of the council with the director's report?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to receive and file the excellent report.
I'll second it.
Mr. Curtis?
I just had a question. Who owns the gate at Independence?
Independence Township.
Does.
They own it.
Yeah,
They paid for
we
it?
paid for it.
Oakland
County paid for it.
Okay.
That was part of the deal, yeah. Okay, Mr. Brakefield seconded.
Yes.
Motion to receive and file the director's report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, motion carries, it's filed. Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of financial activity. Item A is in the informational financial activity. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to receive and file the financial activities.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to receive and file the financial activity. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, moving on to the approval of bills, in the amount of $242,080.23. Is that your
Mhm, that's
understanding? Okay. What's the pleasure of the council, the board, I should say?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the bills for December 2024 in the amount of $242,080.23.
I'll
Support.
second.
Mr. Sarai?
Carl. Oh,
Thank
I
you.
gotta be faster.
It's always good to have members wanting to initiate the action. So with that said, we'll have a roll call vote to approve payment of the December bills.
McDonald,
Yes.
Flood,
Yes.
Brakefield,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Sarowski,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Wappel,
Yes.
Granger.
Motion carries. Thank you for that. Okay, moving into old business. We discussed this in, well, actually, not just last meeting, but previous meetings. I'll turn it over to Lynn or Mike, whichever one of you want to give us some background.
Yeah, probably.
So, after months of consideration, evaluation, talking with people, we've talked to McLaren no less than 3 times. We've talked with attorneys, we've talked with HR, and we had a meeting this past week with SMART and, well, all the county providers. And SMART made it very clear that the DOT physical exam immediately wipes out about 20% of your workforce. That's what we keep hearing over and over and over again. And it's typically for sleep apnea and blood pressure or diabetes. So after much legwork and much consideration, we put together, instead of a DOT physical, we put together what it's called the fitness for duty exam. We looked at the EEOC and how they also said, which is, it's listed here. It says the EEOC implies that employees will be sent to take part in fitness for duty testing by the employer if, and there's 3 things here, an employee is having problems performing the necessary functions of their job. There is enough evidence, witnessed, and verifiable that the employee has a medical condition that makes him or her unable to perform essential job functions and safety, and after a leave of absence. So we talked about it amongst ourselves. We took all the information that we had and we thought, you know, what's the best way, the best comprehensive way to make the public, the drivers, safe in all that we do. And we've already been doing a vision test, a bend test, and a lift test. Our drivers have to bend, they have to twist to get down, secure wheelchairs. They have to lift about 50 pounds. And so we've already been doing those, but we could expand on that. So we've expanded on the vision test to include a peripheral vision. One thing I forgot to speak to was we just hired a safety and training coordinator. This guy comes from UPS with 38 years of experience in safety and training. What an incredible asset. So he was a good part of this to let us know that, you know, this stuff is going to be pretty good. And he also agreed with a 20% staff reduction with DOT. So we went with we added a hearing test. We added a balance test. That's a big thing, is the balance. That, I think, is going to take care of a lot of issues or concerns that we have with our aging workforce and range of motion. We kept the lift test at 50 pounds.
Is that oh, go ahead.
No.
Oh,
good question.
is this an annual thing, or is this just based on hire, or how?
Yep.
or-
Thanks for asking that. It's a pre-employment, and then it's biannual, and it's also, can also be done as needed. So
So
if,
if they see a witnessed or verifiable problem, anybody in the organization, or maybe an observation that one of our customers might see, it would open up the opportunity to do that. And the drivers, obviously, because it is policy, when we pass it, they'll have to abide by that. And that's covered in their employment description, right, as a
Yes.
driver.
Well, it's a new description that we'll have to have, if this is approved, all the drivers will have to be tested, even our current drivers, and sign the new description that we have that includes that, so they have the understanding of this is part of the job, and that if there's something that comes up medically with them from this day forward that would preclude them from doing these, that they have to come forward and,
And
record
McLaren's doing the test, is it? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Brakefield?
Mike, how do you do the balance test?
I'm not exactly sure.
Blindfold somebody and tell them stand still? And
I
also-
fail mine on the side of the road all the time.
I was gonna say, we should all have to practice this test, see what happens.
Blow it at once.
Say the alphabet backwards.
And if you don't know it, the other fella's doing it, I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
It's gonna be a verifiable medical exam.
that's
And how-
right.
What is the cost, like, for each person that's going to
I
be?
don't know. I'm not sure what the cost is now for the three. So I think it's like $8 or $9 each test is what they do. I think that's what they're doing with these three now.
The thing, from my perspective, and I'm sorry for speaking out of turn, but it's the price of doing business. And
Oh, yeah, I
especially-
just was, I was
especially-
just curious on what
Yeah.
Yeah.
the cost
Especially
was.
since we're being driven by our record
Mm-hmm.
and our safety record and, et cetera, so.
When I was in talking with McLaren, there's the cost for the exam, and then with each additional exam, then it was $9 or $12 each one. I think one of them was even $8.
Mr. Brakefield,
What?
you weren't able to finish your comment.
No, he did.
Oh,
You were paying attention, Michael.
okay.
No, he did.
Okay.
Mike's not sure exactly how they do the balance. It's
Okay.
not here.
Is that,
He
that's,
didn't
okay,
write the program.
okay. All right, anybody else, question or concern? All right.
and then as part of that, we wrote the new job description that kind of implemented these changes into it so that it'll be part of the onboarding process. And if you hire a new driver, this will be what they sign off to understanding, and then we're gonna have the drivers, our current drivers, go through and do the same thing as well as get the exams.
And I assume that it won't impede our operations, that it'll be done in such a manner where we don't impede our operations.
Yes, similar to our drug tests, we just do them individually. Usually when they have a break, have a break of some time, then we'll just send, Emma's really good at scheduling when they're down. generally.
Is the upon administrative request that's in their job description, is that the 3 bullets that's under the EEOC?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Basically,
Is the upon administrative request that's going to be in their job description, is that going to be the 3 bullets that are under the EEOC?
Really, my understanding is if we have any concern at all,
Okay.
that we can do it. And that's based upon our integrity drug testing. If I get a phone call, this has happened a couple of times, if I get a phone call from the public, another employee, whatever, says, I think I smelled alcohol on your driver. Immediately, it's a suspicion, so I send them for a drug test. It can be the same thing. If there's any question, it can be us.
You might want to detail that out, just so it doesn't ever cross into it, any sort of discriminatory. No.
well, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's good. Where was that again? That was,
So, it says required.
Oh,
physical
upon it,
test.
oh, right.
Yeah, you just might want to put some definitions around that.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board? Are we satisfied that we've addressed a lot of the concerns or all of the concerns that we've had about this policy?
The only concern I have is, I got you. Go ahead, I just,
Senior moment.
side of the road again. Can't balance.
Okay, well, I'll ask, does the board wish to adopt this policy as amended? We'll consider the suggestions.
I'll
Amendments,
make a
yes.
motion that we adopt the policy of the medical evaluation policy as well as the employee policy.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. We'll have a regular vote, a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt the evaluation policy and the driver description, or is that
Driver job description.
the driver job description, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully this opens up a new and better chapter for our safety record and for our employees as well as our riders.
Can I ask one more question just really quick? Was NODA the only one that was doing this, or were all of the other?
We had a conversation.
Yeah,
and
that's
we were
what
just-
I,
So OPC does the DOT tests.
okay.
SMART does a DOT test. Motive's not doing any tests. So I'll share with them what we're deciding to do. And
Yeah,
not
I was
sure.
just
Right.
curious based on that conversation, because I think
Yes.
it brought up the whole,
It did, and we had a long conversation, it was probably an hour of our 2-hour meeting, and it could have gone longer, because there's so much that you can really talk about, and it's great to share in those type of environments, but the county is looking at it, the county doesn't want to dictate what we have to do, and that's what they're just facilitating the conversation, and it was just conversation amongst the providers. So we
Right.
were just trying to get information on how they did it and how best to do the practice, because the county doesn't want to get into the business of telling us what to do, they're just trying to help us through the question that I proposed.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. First item under new business is our organizational check signers. Currently, we have 3 designated, including myself. Do you want to tell us what you would like to bring forward on that?
It would be nice to have another check signer available. And I didn't know if there was anyone else that wanted to,
With Margie gone, this is
with
why
Margie Bond, right?
I'm signing all the checks and they're always coming here.
But now I'm a check signer with you because you're usually available, but
Yeah.
having Mike now available, Mike, I just didn't know if we wanted to name anyone else.
And you're comfortable with 3?
Yes.
Are we, it
Yeah.
should be fine.
We're all, Margie and I seem to work it out all.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds good. I'm,
So we'll stay with the status quo then, what we did our last meeting.
okay, that sounds good.
Correct.
Nothing.
If it doesn't work out, if there's problems, we can always take it on later.
Sounds good.
Are you gonna let me know what arrangements I need to make? Okay. All right.
And we'll-
Okay, moving on then to the intergovernmental agreement. This will be the 3rd time. I think we've renewed our agreement, at least in recent memory anyways. So I'd like to ask that each member go back to their community. And Lynn, have you got any input on any changes that you think?
There's going to be a lot of changes in this one,
Okay.
so actually it's probably almost going to have to be completely rewritten because so much has changed since 18. It almost doesn't even apply, to be honest. Our eligibility is different, our communities are different, how we're funded is different. We no longer, we used to ask all the communities to pay the governmental contributions. We no longer do that. A lot of the grants that are mentioned here, we don't deal with. So this, I think I'm going to have to almost rewrite this from scratch, to be honest, because so much just doesn't apply. But I know that it's really effective till the end of the year, but I'd like to just start working on that, and then
Yeah.
it's probably going to take a few months and changes and whatnot. So I'm not sure if I'll have a full rendition next month, but I'll start to work on that process, because as I was going through it, it's, there are just a lot of changes that'll have to be defined and whatnot, so, and,
I got something evil up my sleeve. Lynn, I would like to see graphics on this thing too. You know, like we have the Pollyant Trail, we have a little trail and we all this. You need to show a little bus and all that
Okay.
all throughout this.
From an organizational point of view, if the board's in agreement, I think we should give our director time to input the changes that that are required. And then when she gives us a draft of that, we'll go to our communities and expect that and providers, and expect that you'll review it. If you have questions or changes, that you'll come back in a timely manner, and we'll be able to address them or resolve them, incorporate them, or perhaps explain why they aren't needed, before we reach the point where we're at the end of the year and don't have any time left to renew before this one expires. So I think it's good that we've started early. Not to put too much pressure on, but, you know, it'll be in your shoulders for a month or two to get this out to the communities.
That makes sense. Now, the current term is 8 years, so do you want me to continue with the 8 years? I think that's actually a good one, because that should be the end of the millage renewal for the,
County.
that'll go through the 32. So I think that keeping that the same makes sense.
Okay.
Would you think that would be an agenda item for each of the townships and the villages to review it and approve it, even if it's
Oh, absolutely.
accepted?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then we've got to clear, if somebody
Yeah,
has a problem.
once we've all had input, both, you know, personally and from our communities, Lynn will have a fresh, you know, copy reflecting that, and hopefully we'll do that well before November. So,
Yeah, there's some questions I might come to you, because right now we have, if one of the governments want to withdraw, that, you know, we basically don't give service to that community, but now we're funded through the county, so it's a little different, so I think the whole thing's just gonna have to be rewritten, and if someone, you talk about if someone wants to join NODA, what the requirements are, so I'm not sure what the board wants me to
well, I
do with
think,
that either, so.
I think the board is primarily interested in keeping the equity that each community has invested into NODA.
Right.
And then beyond that, if there was any buy-ins, it would literally have to be a buy-in by another community, that not only would they be joining NODA, but they would also be having take on some of that vested interest in our capital and employee positions. Everybody kind of agreed on that? That'll give Lynn some direction,
Okay,
how to go with that.
till they start, okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on this? With the board's indulgence, I'd like to back up just a little bit to our check signers. Currently, Lynn is our director and has signature authority, but it's not specifically spelled out. And I think we should include that in the contractual services agreement, that our director have that authority. It's just one of those kind of, and she brought it to my attention after we started discussing check signers with Jack and other, you know, other signers, so.
You want to just show of hands, who wants it,
Well,
add it?
if everybody's in agreement, she'll put it in the draft
Yeah, put it.
IGA, and we'll move on from that. But that was a biggie, I think, for us, too.
You just word it, you as the director and
Yep.
2 named
Board members.
signers after that.
Okay. With that, and frankly, our current practices have been in effect for so long that I'm not worried about continuing as we are, as long as we're going to address it in the agreement.
In the interim.
Unless the board member hasn't a specific objection to do it. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for that. Okay, we'll move on then to public comments. Hearing none, we'll move on to receiving and filing the monthly rider and mileage reports, which reflect everything that was described in the director's report. So we're moving people, that's for sure. A lot of people. So what's the pleasure of the board to receive and file those reports?
I'll make a motion, we receive and file monthly rider and mileage reports.
Support.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the monthly rider and mileage reports. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay. Motion carries. Board member comments. We'll start with Ray.
Oh, no,
No?
no, thank you.
Tanya?
Just-
I like the directors of report. I feel like it was very thorough and well written. So, thanks.
I just got a question with all this bad weather, bad roads and that, how are we doing on accidents?
That's a
Jinx
good
us.
question.
Don't jinx us.
That's it, I don't want to talk about it.
We've only had one, and it was very minor. They're going through Wood Trail, Deer Path, and that gets really bad back there. And a 20-year-old kid was coming around the corner drifting
No.
and hit our bus. And he made an evasive move to try to miss, but didn't happen. But he just caught the back rear wheel, and it was
Was
that,
there-
that's it.
Was there a ticket issued?
There was. Yeah.
Not to us.
Right.
Right, okay.
That's where my sister lives in that subdivision.
Yeah, that gets
Yeah.
greasy back
I
there.
take that road all the time.
This morning got kind of nasty too.
It did.
It did.
Yeah.
I drifted.
Mr. Brakefield?
I agree with Tanya. I like the way you wrote out the report. It's real easy to read, easy to follow. I like it. Good job. I appreciate Mike doing all the work he's doing on, it's got to do a lot of work on you, trying to get all this stuff going.
Mike?
Ditto.
Okay. Mr. Curtis?
With the non-election of Margie Payne, do we get to put another trustee on this board?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What about a deputy supervisor? She's not elected.
I think it's
appointed.
pretty specific about,
Somewhere I saw it had to be elected official from each township.
I think it's
I
elected.
thought it said that, but I'm gonna ask out loud and
Okay,
just,
But here, Mike, here's the problem with a non-elected. We are spending money. And it would be wise that a elected officials that spends the township money and the village money would be an elected official. Yeah.
a deputy supervisor holds all authority of a supervisor in a township except for running and voting at the meeting.
at the board meeting. So you're saying it's okay if they,
She can sign my name to anything.
yeah, well,
She can make any decision in the township that I can make, except she can't run the meeting.
No authority at the board.
right.
That's,
They
Well,
have-
Joe, what do
And it's
you
funny,
have?
I had that because I was asking about my position here. I'm a non-governmental official, so I'm, and that's why Rockets was speaking to, at the beginning of the meeting. It says 9 members shall consist of members of the township board and village councils of the participating governments.
so it says board,
Members of the township board.
board, right? So we interpret that to be an elected township board member?
That's generally, I think, how it,
Yeah, because that would,
even the general
Joe,
public.
I
would
just-
look
I'm
at
looking-
it.
See you later, buddy.
that's why I'm not voting today. I'm here,
Yeah.
There is an opportunity, and that's what I was talking to Lynn about, is for me, and I've said in the past about, once the non-governmental boards have been appointed, they may appoint up to 3 additional voting members of the notary board, non-governmental members. Each non-governmental member shall serve for a term of 1 year. A couple years ago, I was on in lieu of when our council member couldn't make it, but I'd have to be appointed every year by this board as a non-governmental member. Otherwise, I'm just observing, and which is what I'm doing today.
She is a member of our community and has every responsibility that I have, except for running the board meeting. So
So you don't have a trustee that wants to be on the board?
I stopped right there because what I'm trying to do is to get her into the community and some of these activities to learn and work on rather than just sit here and listen. She could be a participating member if,
And you
Well-
could put in that second tier one that's in here, where
Yeah.
this board can have 9 additional, or 3 additional ones, but again, maybe they already are. Or
We
you-
have TTI, we have the Easter Seals.
So those 3 participating not members maybe already be filled out.
Yeah,
they have to be approved every year.
Yeah.
by their, well, they have an organizational approval. The organization sends us communication telling us that they are still representing.
That, the reason I asked is there's a lot of gray area in there.
Well, yeah, but it's pretty specific about township board members. I mean,
For
that's,
the governmental members.
yeah. Unless, and that opens the door, if the council wants to reconsider that as part of the intergovernmental agreement. I frankly don't see a lot of demand for it.
She could be an
other than
alternate.
What Jack's brought forward, but it's certainly, we could take input on that when this is presented.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because, you know, we have a lot of committees that are formed. As we grow, we're getting more and more activity. I thought, well, why not?
Mr. McDonald?
So the other part that I skipped over was, the participating governments shall also appoint alternate government members. Such members appointed pursuant to this section may serve as a voting governmental member at any time the primary governmental member is absent or when a vacancy exists. So if you appoint one of your trustees and your deputy is the alternate and that trustee doesn't show up, your alternate can sit here as if they were.
Thanks for that loophole.
There's no, there's so many, that's why I brought it up,
Yeah.
because, you
Well,
know, I want Danielle
I
to
like
get the
that for-
exposure and the work experience, but
Right.
They could be you're the alternate, and as long as the other person isn't here, they're sitting here just like they're the regular member.
okay.
and ultimately, if a person is, from any background or organization is appointed to the board, the responsibility is always going to come back to the community, you know, so, that appointed them. So, just, that has to be borne in mind as well. Okay, I've asked Lynn to examine that and see where that might fit into our future agreement. Okay. All right, Mr.
All I
Door.
had.
Oh, are you done, Jack?
That's all I had.
Okay.
Again, as a non-member, but to Mr. Wakefield's point, by keeping it the electeds on here, those are the ones that have the fiduciary responsibility and are accountable to the public who put us there. So I think that's why those kind of things are
Oh,
usually pretty
absolutely.
tight, right?
Yeah.
But the alternate does give Jack his options. But, and back to the point about your reading through the packet today, it's amazing what you guys have done, how you've doubled staff, doubled ridership, and almost without a blip on it from our end, from what we see. That's quite a feat. Normally that kind of growth is very punishing.
Lynn's eye's still twitching.
But I mean,
I mean,
you're not reading about falling down on your face and you're not hearing
No.
about it here. It was, I mean, to go from this to that in
Yeah.
that period of time is amazing.
And from a financial.
I don't care
point
what
of-
you're doing, but
Yeah.
what you guys do is even so more scary and driving around and carrying people and moving them in and out of the vehicles. You're not just like doubling your box
Right.
widget production. You're out there.
Right, and that drove the new driver's policy.
Yeah.
Primarily this time. So,
So you compete.
okay, Mr. Moore?
I'm good. I'm still on my learner's permit, so you're just
Okay.
going to give me a little more time.
Okay.
Get over my-
Balance?
Gotta get over my shyness.
Okay, well, with that said,
I didn't think you'd agree with that.
I quit listening when you said you were, no, just kidding.
Mike,
Yes,
just so I can be in front of Mike Flood here, I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
okay.
Support. Oh,
Well, Mr. Mike might have had comments. You cut him off.
No, I think I have a tendency to make my comments during the meeting, so thank you, though. Motion to adjourn, all in favor of the motion to adjourn at
Say
5:10?
no.
10.
Let's say-
Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no.
No.
Our
No.
next,
You can stay
our
here.
next,
You can stay here.
our
You'd like
next,
to let him make the motion.
our next board meeting's February 20th, folks, so we'll stay safe
I won't
until
be
then,
here.
and we'll see you then.